welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Comic Class. In today's lesson, guys, we're going over Deadly Class, issue 51 of Fond Farewell, part 3. And yeah, it's been a while since I made a Deadly Class review. This issue came out, I believe, like a week ago, but due to like health reasons, I wasn't able to get around to review it. But we're gonna get the reviews out on the channel, more on schedule, hopefully. And yeah, with that being said, let's jump right into today's story. Let's go. So this story basically starts off with Marcus basically executing an assassination mission of his, and it's really cool. We get a lot of cool action sequences. We also get to see him as he kills these goons that he's having like hallucinations of Master Lin. So that's really cool, and we're seeing the type of trauma that Marcus is dealing with after all these years after killing Master Lin, or leaving him there to die in King's Dominion. We also get to see this dude hanging out with his like prostitute girlfriend or something like that, very young girl. And while they're hanging out, Marcus basically does a headshot on the dude and kills him in cold blood, and basically completes his assassination mission. Now, Marcus talks to this girl, this young girl, and basically tells her that, you know, she shouldn't be hanging out with married men, and that's the moral of the story. He basically leaves her there as he goes, and we get to hear that the girl basically cries out saying that, you know, the crime lord or whoever she was, you know, dating that's married basically is dead, that he's been killed. So Marcus has to make his way out of there as the guards come in and they basically try to kill him. It's a ton of them start shooting at him once they enter the room. So it's really cool. We see the girl basically taking cover next to the dead corpse of her partner, basically, you know, the guy that was married. So Marcus basically goes and lands on the ground. He goes into hiding, and he tries to make his way out of this infested area with all of these criminals. Eventually, he uses like this type of like smoke screen to get a lot of kills on these criminals, and eventually he makes his way to another area of the place, and this is where he's confronted by Maria. So Maria, as we saw in the comic cover, was spoiled to be alive, which I don't think that was a really good decision to do. But the last few issues before this had kind of hinted that Maria was alive, especially the last issue. So I guess Rick Remender and Wes Craig didn't think it was a big deal to, you know, hold off on the reveal that she's alive. But we find out from Marcus that basically Maria's husband was actually the guy that Marcus killed. And Marcus was able to piece two and two together and figure out that Maria is actually the one that hired Marcus. And we learn that Marcus is actually a very well-known assassin at this point in time in his life. That's really cool. And Maria tells Marcus, and she gets mad because Marcus did not kill her husband's mistress, basically, you know, his prostitute. And she's mad about that, but Marcus says that she deserves a second chance at life, that she's a very young girl, only like 25 years old. And considering Marcus is saying this about her being young, 25 years old, and that was the age that Maria got married to her husband, I'm assuming this Marcus is actually in his 30s, or maybe even going into his 40s, so that's kind of crazy how much of a time skip this has been. But yeah, so basically going off of that, we get to see that Maria basically tries to get Marcus out of there, and tries to make it seem like the criminals are mistaken that Marcus isn't the one that killed her husband, but they know that she's basically lying, and then they say they're not going to take orders from her being the wife of the crime lord and not the crime lord himself. So they basically say that, you know, they'll kill her for being, you know, a treacherous, you know, you can see it on the screen, that swear word. But yeah, so basically Maria has to fight back against these guys, and she brings out her iconic fans that are very similar to like Katana from Mortal Kombat, which I wonder if that was an inspiration for her character, using these like Katana like type fans weapons. So she realizes while they're battling that Marcus has basically escaped, and she basically continues her fight against the criminals and does a very good job on her own, taking on a ton of these guys and killing a lot of them. But eventually Marcus does come back and says that, you know, if he allowed Maria to die, there'd be no way that he would get paid. and stuff like that. As he says, Maria says, "You came back for me," and Marcus says, "Dead clients can't pay." So I thought that was really funny scene. I like it when they put these little pieces of comedy in serious moments, as long as it doesn't ruin the complete tone of the scene. And we get this really cool splash page with, like, well, it's not really a splash page, but it's a huge page with a ton of different panels of action panels, and this action sequence is really well done. After this, we go near the end of the chapter with Maria and Marcus basically escaping the island that they were on, and the issue ends with them basically sailing off into the sea, with Marcus saying that "I won't let you down again," and even the top set of the dialogue says, "In the end, they would be together." I believe that's supposed to be like Master Lin talking, if I'm correct. That or just a narrator, but I believe it's Master Lin, kind of like giving his perspective on what he thought Marcus and Maria's relationship would be in the far future, and that they would eventually end up together because they're a lot like each other, and that they can't really trust anyone, but at the same time they're very stubborn, and they basically have lived a life of killing people basically because of their teachings at King's Dominion and learning how to become assassins and all that stuff, and also to do with Maria and Stefano and Marcus and just all the stuff they went through, with what was his name? Was it Chico? I think that was his name. His father, and himself as well. Just like tons of stuff that Marcus and Maria had to deal with the relationship and how that evolved, and then eventually, completely got broken. And now it looks like they're gonna be coming back together and repairing that relationship, decades later, which is crazy. And how they took that story, Rick Remender and Wes Craig, and that they're taking in that direction. And we'll see if they indeed stay together in in future issues from this point on. And yeah, that was Deadly Class issue 51 of Fond Farewell Part 3. Overall, very solid issue. I did enjoy the reintroduction into Maria's character. I thought the action was very well done. And knowing that Marcus and Maria, it has been decades since King's Dominion, and they're still doing these type of lifestyle, really does make me think the series will end with either Marcus's death or them just continuing to be assassins. And Deadly Class probably will not have a happy ending, which is okay because not every story needs a happy ending, but it seems more likely that that is the route that Rick Remender and Wes Craig are going, rather than having a happy ending with Marcus and Maria, or Marcus and Saya. And we'll see who he ends up with at the very end. But overall, very solid issue. Go check it out. Link in the description down below. Go check it out legally. And yeah, until the next video, when we cover the Deadly Class series, when the next issue drops, like I said, hopefully we'll have it out on the day that it drops, when the next one does. There was very specific reasons, due to health, why I could not get this review out whenever it dropped. But hopefully on the next issue, we're able to drop it right when it drops, on that day. And be more consistent on the channel, because, it's really good. And, it gets the video out for you guys faster. And we can talk about the Deadly Class series while we still have it until the climax. And, and then we won't have Deadly Class anymore. So I'll be pretty sad. But until then, we're going to have a good time. And yeah, until next video, guys, God bless you. Until next lesson, keep on reading those comments.